Why do some people recite the Quran and it sounds smooth and controlled, while others sound rushed or uneven even when they know the words? The mistake is not in the pronunciation. The mistake is in the timing. If you don't control the length of your sound, your recitation will always feel unbalanced. So, today we will fix this with one rule which is known as mud. Mud means stretching the sound correctly. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to our Quran learning series where we learn the Quranic recitation with all the implementation of Tajweed rules. In our previous lecture, we focused on the letters and their rules, but today we focused on something more powerful, control of the sound's length, and that is called mad. Inshallah, in our this lecture of Tajweed, we will learn about mad. So let's move to our laptop screen. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. رب زدني علما رب زدني علما رب زدني علما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Today we are going to start our sixth lecture of Tajweed, which is about mud. Mud plays an essential role in beautify of Quranic recitation. So, before starting this lecture, we have to know the meaning of mud. Mud means stretching or prolonging our voice during the recitation. Here the question arises that why mud matters. If mud is too short, the Quran sound rushed, and if the mud is too long, the Quran sounds looks artificial. So mud teach us patience in our recitation. There are there are two main categories of mud on the basis of their stretching. The first one is short mud and the second one is long mud. So let's move to the first type, which is known as short mud. These are stretched for two counts the time it takes to open or close a finger slowly. You can simply implement this mud with the help of your fist by opening two fingers. Okay, this is known as short mud, and when we pronounce and implement this mud on any of the letter comes in the Quran, you can simply use your two fingers to know and to implement this mud correctly. So with the given examples, we will learn how to implement this mud, which is known as short mud. Here you can see that alif preceded by the fatha, we can pronounce this word like ba. Only you have to stretch this word according to two counts. By using your finger, you can pronounce this word as you see towards me like ba. Okay, ba, ba. So how can we pronounce this word? We can pronounce this word like ba, alif fatha, ba, ba. Understand? The next one is boo. If wow is preceded by dama, we have to stretch that word according to two counts. How? Boo. Ba, wow, duma, boo, boo. Understand? The next example is B. If ya is preceded by the kasra, if ya is preceded by kasra, we have to stretch that word according to two counts. How? Ba, ya, kasra, B, B. You have not to stretch this word not too long and not too short, but according to two counts only. Understand? B, B. Okay. So here you have to remember that if alif is preceded by the fatha, if alif is preceded by the fatha, we have to stretch the word according to two counts. Understand? The second one, if waw is preceded by dama, I repeat that if waw is preceded by dama, we have to stretch the letter for two counts. And if ya is preceded by the kasra, I repeat, if ya is preceded by kasra, we have to stretch this word for two counts. Understand? There are three rules of short mud. I summarize this rule by repeating this lecture that if alif is preceded by fatha, we have to stretch that word for two counts. The second, if waw is preceded by dama, we have to stretch this word for two counts. And the last, if ya is preceded by kasra, we have to stretch that word for two counts. I am sure that you understand the short mud and their implementation. So let's move to the second rule, which is known as long mud. These are stretched further, usually for 4 to 6 count, and often marked with a wavy sign. As you see here, that the sign of long mud is this. Mostly come in the Quran if we have to pronounce and we have to implement the long mud. Whenever you see this sound, you have to stretch that word for 4 to 6 count according to the situation. So let's move to our first example to understand the implementation of long mud. The first one is ja, ja. In this part and in this rule of long mud, you have also use your fingers. Okay, how can you use your fingers? Show your hand in front of your eyes and recite that word and close your finger until all the fingers are closed, and you have to pronounce this word correctly. How? Ja. I am stretching this word for 6 count, and when I count on my fingers, I close firstly my 5 fingers, and on the 6th count I open the first finger, and then I end that word. So you repeat. So repeat this word with me like ja. Again ja. Understand? Stretching the alif before hamza. If I can show you that here there is a mud sign present on the hamza, so that's why we have to stretch this word for at least 6 count. Understand? Now move to the second example, which is taken from Surah Al-Fatiha. Here we have to stretch this word for 6 counts. How can we pronounce this word? وَلَضَّالِّينَ. How can? وَلَضَّالِّينَ. Again. وَلَضَّالِّينَ. Okay. ولا الضالين. Now move to the third example, and here is the point. The point is what? I told you first that if this sign comes any on the letter of the Quran, we have to stretch that words for 4 to 6 count. But how can we know that this word we have to pronounce and stretch for 4 counts or 6 counts? So the difference is that sometimes, if I can give you an example of the letter Hamza, if the mud like this comes, we have to stretch this letter for 6 count. But sometimes in the Quran, the short mud comes on the Hamza, but the sign is same. So this mud is stretched for 4 counts, and this mud is stretched for 6 count. Okay, there is only a little difference of their sizes. If the size is big, we have to pronounce and recite that words usually for 6 count, and if any of the letter preceded by this mud which have a little bit small size, we have to pronounce and recite that words usually for 4 counts. Understand? So here in this word ulaika, there is a mud, but its size is small, so we can stretch this word only for 4 counts. How can we stretch? Ulaika, ulaika, ulaika. Understand? Now comes to the fourth example, which is same like the third one. So here we have to stretch this word for 4 counts. This word is taken from Surah An-Naba, and with me you can make a practice. When I pronounce this word, you also have to pronounce with me. How can? As-sama'u. How? As-sama'u. As-sama'u. Here you can see that I close my finger until I recite and pronounce that word. When I close all my fingers, I end that mud. Okay? How? As-sama'u. As-sama'u. Understand? I am sure that you understand the implementation of and the nomination of long mud. So I can repeat again the long mud. There is a sign which is known as wavy sign. Whenever this sign will present on the Quran on any of the word, we have to stretch that word usually for 4 to 6 counts. But whenever the sign is small, we have to stretch that word for 4 counts, and when the sign is big, we have to pronounce that word for 6 counts. Understand? So today we learned about the short mud and the long mud. In the short mud, we have to stretch that word which is preceded by fatha, dama and kasra according to their conditions only for 2 counts, and the long mud which have this wavy sign, we have to stretch that words according to the conditions for 4 to 6 count. So train your ears plus voice together, and remember that good recitation is not fast, it is controlled. With the help of Allah Almighty and with the blessing of Allah, we have completed our very essential lecture of Tajweed, which plays an essential role in beautify of Quranic recitation, which is known as Mad. So if you really want to improve your Quranic recitation, you need proper guidance and consistent practice. At Alpha Legacy, we provide online Tajweed classes, in-person sessions, step-by-step structured learning, and personal attention to fix your mistakes. Whether you are a beginner or you want to refine your recitation, we are here to help you. So, start your journey with us today and continue following these series to improve your recitation step by step. Inshallah, we will meet in our next lecture of Tajweed. في أمان الله سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.